Welcome to the latest episode of the National Leadiology Association podcast. Today, we're back with a really trendy topic, artificial intelligence and leadership. I am your host, Dr. Amin Sanaia. I'm joined, as usual, with my tag team partner, co-host, Tanner Thorpe.
Good morning, everyone. Good day, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at and whatever time you're listening to us.
Awesome. And back by popular demand, our special guest, Mr. Juan Santana.
Hey, how are you? Good day, everybody. Glad to be back. Glad to be part of this tag team here. I feel like I'm at home now.
Awesome.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, our topic of the day is artificial intelligence and leadership. So today we're going to be just looking at several parts of it. So when you think about artificial intelligence and how it's taken really what we do on a daily basis in our lives to another level, and the people and the organizations that actually embrace that are going to be really ahead of the game or ahead of the curve by embracing the tools and the things that it brings, the added on benefits that it brings to organizations. So our discussion today, and it's probably knowing us, is going to take several episodes, so it will evolve. I can say that from the beginning. Today, though, we're going to start off really looking at a small piece of the artificial intelligence and how it intertwines with leadership. So how can AI assist leaders in synthesizing information? We're going to start off with a brain teaser with that question that I just posed. So Juan and Tanner, imagine a team of leaders each receiving pieces of data. They're different. So Juan, you receive a bunch of financial stuff. Tanner, you receive some operational, some other parts of information. How can you come together and make sure that the data flows between both of you and that it benefits the organization versus to the old ways of just bringing in manual stuff, manual spreadsheets and manual reports, where that allows for a big percentage of human error?
So I think that, first before I touch on that, what you said, you used a word that I think, it defines what we're seeing with AI more than anything else, and it was evolution. What we're seeing with AI, the very first AI that I remember really being popularized and talked about was IBM Watson. Yeah, and the way that IBM Watson could compute and think on its own. And what we've grown into is really a multifaceted tapestry, if you will, of different AI tools that are doing a lot of different things. So, there, as you mentioned, there's some rabbit holes to really go down in what is functional AI for leadership. But to answer your question, I think that the biggest thing is automation when we're talking about the financials and operational data and things like that, using data mining programs to really extrapolate what is the good data that we need and what is kind of the useless data that bogs down the information systems and streamlining that piece. And AI is a critical tool for that. Because it can compute faster than we can. It can check algorithms and see, what data is actually being touched by end users. And from there, it can put together, slick dashboards. It can put together good spreadsheets. It can compute into what is the financial metrics that we need to know and understand. So I think to answer your question, that's the functionality there.
Okay. Juan?
Yeah, data is the new currency. Data is the new gold. And data drives everything. And what AI is allowing is to have that data at your fingertip. Right? You know, if we look back, you know, when I went back and started, you know, anyone that worked on the mainframe is familiar with those reports. They're, you know, the green and white paper reports, right? You know, you had to run your 90 job to get you know, a P&L report, to get some kind of financial report. You know, you had to wait. Now you don't have to wait. I mean, it's right at your fingertip. You could make decision on the go. You could make adjustment on the fly. So if something is not working out in the financial, you could, you know, quickly, you know, tweak it around a little bit and see the results immediately. So, you know, AI is bringing that quickness to the business to allow leaders to make better decisions because they have the data right in front of them at all times.
Good stuff. For me, I'll start off with story. So, funny story. When I was my first role in healthcare was being a business office manager at a retirement community, and I mean we're talking about 30 years ago, so 28 years ago. I'm sorry. In my role, obviously it's all numbers. So we did put together a lot of the information that we needed for billing purposes. And as we gathered that data, there was, oh my Lord, I remember month end closing is a process that nowadays shouldn't take you more than a day, a few hours. Back then it's about 2 week period. So you would do month end close, bill, and then, you know, week or two later, you're doing it again. And that's all you did. So it was very repetitive because it took so long. And the reason why it took so long was because we didn't have tools like AI to help aggregate the data, to help, like Tanner said, really do the calculations faster than a human being can. I mean, we have 5, 6 people. Nowadays in the business office, you'll have 1 or 2, if that, and they usually doing multiple roles anyways. But I remember vividly. So when we used to run our reports, every report took about 5, 6 hours for the report thinking. And then to print out the report, it'll be another 8 to 9 hours. So we would have to time that the whole processing piece happens it starts very early in the morning. So by the time the afternoon comes, we can start printing, and then someone would stay would work in the afternoon because it was remember those dot matrix printer?
Yep. Oh yeah.
And it was like 300-400 pages, and
Yeah.
if the printer got stuck, guess what? Or got jammed and no one was there to fix it real quick, you got to start all over again. So somebody had to literally sit there and watch these things, make sure they got straightened out, and that the printer didn't get jammed. So nowadays we don't even have to print stuff. Everything gets sent electronically. So it's where we've come from to have that perspective to where we are now. I mean, absolutely, we need AI. I mean, come on.
Oh,
Yeah, there's we'll get into the stuff that we shouldn't do with it, but that we need it. Oh, you got to embrace it.
yeah. You know, coming from a culinary background, again, I started in the culinary industry 30 years ago, very similar to your start. And you know, when back in the day, you know, if you're costing out a menu,
back in my
day, you know, you're costing out a menu, you're sitting there, you're using a hand calculator.
There you go.
You know, and you're breaking down the price of everything that's coming in. But what I remember as being the most tedious of tasks is inventory.
Oh my.
Because not
Oh.
only are you counting it manually and you're writing it down on a piece of paper, but then you have to go through, you have to add all of that up together, and then you're adding all of that together. You know, and now, I mean, over the past 10, 15 years, the automation that's come through is, you know, you can do it on an iPad. But one of the coolest things that I saw was I was at the National Restaurant Association conference last year. And of course, robotics and AI are a huge push in every industry.
Mhm.
And one of the things that they had was an inventory control and communication AI tool. And it was run on cameras and computers. And so essentially the idea behind it is you put a camera in certain locations. So let's use dry storage as an example. That's where you store your dry goods, your cereals and your flours and your sugars and things like that. You put cameras in where it can see the full scope,
Mhm.
and it can understand what the shelving looks like. And as you take a box off, it computes that you removed a box, so it deducts it from the inventory. And then it also has an ordering piece also, that if you put a par to say, I'm going to have 6 bags of sugar, and you take one off, by the next time that it's ready to order, it computes that you need one more in there. And the AI tool that goes with it can do all of your inventory and all of your ordering. So the efficiencies that you have there are just, I mean, exponential. The time that people can spend actually working on their craft, because these tools are helping as time-saving measures, are just incredible.
So that's
My first job was at a Macy's store, and they called me one night to help with the inventory. And all I got
That's
was,
where you get all your great fashion from, huh? That's where your fashion sense comes from. I knew there was fashion retail in your background, Juan.
All I got was a clipboard and a pen. And I had to walk to the store counting every item that was there.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
And how tedious. And then think about the margin for error.
Not yet.
Oh man, I mean, I did retail before I got into healthcare, and it was similar to what Juan said. So inventory at a retail store is they'll close down probably an hour or two early, and everyone had to go with clipboards and count everything in the back, and then you put all the information together, and then the senior management will put in all the figures and be like, oh, we're off 20,000 or something, and then you have to go recount until you figure out where the errors were. That is insane.
Yeah.
That is something that out of this world. So yeah, I mean, it's AI is for sure. You need that in your business in different segments where it's going to really help you in those areas where you shouldn't have any errors.
Mhm.
Really shouldn't. So I know in what you mentioned at the beginning, Tanner, you mentioned IBM Watson. So IBM Watson has really evolved, and now we look at IBM Watson Analytics. So they have this AI tool that provides actionable insights. So it uses natural language processing and machine learning to analyze data sets. That is something that is really big in businesses right now. So for future leaders, this is something that you really want to look at and really understand some of these systems that businesses are using or will be using. You don't have a choice. You're going to be using these tools.
Yeah.
The other one that I've used a lot, and I would say in the past 10 years, is Microsoft Power BI, their
Yep.
business intelligence suite. This one is an AI power tool that helps aggregate data from multiple sources. So what it does, it'll take, for instance, and I would say healthcare, because that's the business where I have the most amount of experience on. It'll take all your data from your financials, from your other systems, from your CRM, whatever other systems you use, and it'll create for you different things. Number one, it can create for you dashboards. with key indicators that you want to be able to follow as a leader. It'll help you identify patterns, so you can program it and say, hey, if this number's if this number gets above 10, for example, or below 5, I need an alert. It'll do that. Okay. And also, it can help you provide actionable insights. But again, it cannot do it by itself. You actually have to program it. So you have to feed it the information, everything about your business, and everything that is important to your business, and which key indicators are the most important. And it'll help you as a business leader have a pulse. So it can be, touch in time. Hey, right now, this is where the business is at. This is what it's projecting. And these are the trends. That is so powerful, because there's still organizations nowadays that are trying, because they're not able to, I'm sure, to do that manually. I mean, how do you run a business if you can't project where your cash flow is going to be in 6 months or 12 months or 18 months, when you feed in the information that is upcoming? Because you know that there are certain things that happen in each business that are going to be big expenditures. And there's no way for you to be able to say, hey, I can spend $5 million in 6 months because our cash flow projection says this. You can't, you are, it's very hard to do it manually. I shouldn't say you can't. And those are just two that are really, really important. And that'll take us right into our discussion, our first discussion question, which is, how can AI enhance decision-making processes in leadership?
Just to tell you, I mean, on the Power BI, because I've used Power BI. For anyone that is looking to explore and turn to, I think I found Power BI to be one of the easiest tools to pick up and learn, because it has that drag and drop functionality where you don't really need to know any programming language. You don't need to know Python. You don't need to any of that. It's just, having the data available and dragging and dropping it, and it builds a dashboard for you. I find that it's very easy to use, and for anyone that wants to explore, that's probably the place to start with.
Absolutely, absolutely. Power BI it's very it's not complicated. You don't have to take a certification course in order to use it. But it depends on how the organization sets it up, because it needs to be set up currently to your role. So everyone's role is a little bit different. And in order for a leader, depending on where they are in the organization, they need to be able to have the things that are meaningful to them and not overwhelm them by giving them too much. Because that's the other thing that you can do, that I've seen, especially at the beginning when we started, the future thinking organization started adding on a lot of IT and AI tools and programs to help the business leaders. It was an overwhelm of software tools, and then you become, it's like, okay, well, I didn't become a leader to become a software engineer. I want to be a leader, so I want tools that are easy to use. So to your point, Juan, that is a very valid that we provide our leaders the tools that are easy to use, that you're not going to need specialized training in order to use it, or to be able to really get the benefit from it. Second piece to that is that organizations evolve and people transition from organization to organization. So if you have business tools that are not easy to learn or use, when you get new people, that learning curve now becomes really big, and you're setting up that future leader for failure, not for success. What do you guys think about that?
No, I think that's spot on. I think that what we have to be careful of is that the AI landscape right now is becoming incredibly vast. As I mentioned in the beginning, it's a tapestry of all kinds of different things. As I was doing research for this podcast, I mean, you can find an AI tool to do anything. I found one that you can take old photographs, historical photographs, and you can essentially use this AI tool to animate it. Not to actually make the people move and walk around, but you can animate their faces. You can make them smile. You can make their heads move. You can make their eyes blink. It's cool and fun stuff. There's a bunch of cool and fun stuff, right? So it's it's making sure that the leaders have the right tools to use, and that they are maybe not necessarily universal, but widely used enough, like Power BI, so that when they're going from location to location, job to job, they're not getting lost and having to relearn and retrain and figure out a new system. And I mean, not everybody's going to use Power BI, right? Like we're seeing it right now with the AI tools that like Google and Facebook and Verizon and everybody's got their Apple, they've all got their own new AI tool with it. It has to have some functionality that's the same in order for people to feel like they can switch from one to another. How many times do you hear iPhone users say, I'll never use a Samsung because I don't get how that phone works? Right? And vice versa. You'll have Samsung users who've used it forever and said, I can't figure out how to make an iPhone work. Right? Like, what are we talking about? These are basically handheld tablets. They should have similar functionality, right? It shouldn't be that hard for the layman person to work. But back to the original question of how does AI help leaders? Really the benefit of AI is streamlining processes and procedures and information and data flow so that they can then lead their teams and their areas, right? So that they have more time and better information to be able to work with their product flow and their teammates and how do they grow the business. I mean, you hit on such a good point. I mean, that historically we've done everything manually.
Yes.
Right. And now that we're getting away from doing things manually, the ability to be able to forecast, to know your margin, to know your profit centers, to know your cash flow, to know all of that stuff helps the leader to be able to make better informed decisions with more time available and to teach their teams how to do that.
Absolutely.
Let's take the business part out of it and let's add the personal concept into it.
Yeah.
Ooh,
All right, let's do this.
Okay.
Let me grab my ball here. I'm gonna throw a little curveball here.
No, I love this because I wanted to talk about this a lot too.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, in the past, I remember in the past when we used to travel, we used to have this guy that we used to send first. That says, "You go first, look at the landscape, let us know what you think, let us know what's going on." And it basically was, to learn a little bit about the culture before, we bring this team from the US and invade your office space and do something that, might be unpolite or, disrespect somebody. So his job usually was, explore the area and then tell us, what should we do, what we shouldn't do.
That's a fun job. How can I sign up for that job? That sounds cool.
So now with that, I mean, you could do that now with AI. Just gotta ask AI, what's going on and learn all of that about culture before you even get there. I mean, I have Copilot running on the side. I could easily ask a question about anybody. Good example. Says tell me a little bit about Tyler Turner, and it gave me, tells me the background. Born in the Midwest, raised in the greater Seattle area.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So you could do this not only, to find out, before you go to a place, to learn about the place, but also learn about the people and the culture. I mean, if you guys ever read that book by Friedman, The Word is Flat, when the whole outsourcing concept started, and it says the word is flat because, everything is now inside your fingertip. Everything is reachable. I don't have to get on a plane to go to India. On Thursday, we had about 30-something kids that came to visit in the office. And I had one of the VR experience. And basically, I put the VR glasses, so you can go anywhere in the world that you want to go. So they were traveling with the VR glasses. They went to Asia, they went to South America. They were all over the place without leaving that physical space. Uh, and all of that is possible because of all this new technology, and it's growing so quickly that it's just getting better and better. And I have to say, we have to be careful though. I don't think the machines are going to take over. Don't get me wrong there. I don't think Terminator is going to come and take over, but we have to make sure that we use this power correctly and properly.
Yeah. Tanner, you want to say something before I jump in? Because I'm gonna say something
Go ahead.
about.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I've got a bunch of stuff. You go ahead.
Yeah. No, well, you go, because then I'm going to transition to the second question once I say my piece.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Okay,
Let's go down the rabbit hole.
I think on the personal level, so there's a lot going on right now. I mean, Elon Musk just put together the Memphis Supercenter. That is hold on, I'm gonna pull up the actual data information on it because I was researching it earlier. Musk xAI, in collaboration with X and NVIDIA, launched the supercomputer cluster featuring 100,000 liquid-cooled H100 GPUs on a single RDMA fabric. The setup, according to Musk, gives xAI a significant advantage in training the world's most powerful AI by every metric by December this year. Now, that's a bold claim, right? And we all know that Musk is big on bold claims, right? But if anybody's going to do it, it's guys that dream big like that, right?
Oh,
like there's no limits to what Elon Musk believes that he can do. I think from a personal standpoint, to touch on what Juan was saying, it's so cool that we can use VR the way that we do. You can use Copilot the way that you do. But I think the next evolution in personal AI is it's the part that has always been the question of whether AI can truly become sentient. And it's the empathic piece.
Yeah.
Right? Can it truly empathize and communicate with humans in an empathetic way? And there was this great Cornell study that they did last year, and the team found that CAs make value judgments about certain identities, such as gay and Muslim, and can be encouraging of identities related to harmful ideologies, including Nazism. The key takeaway, despite their ability to display empathy, CAs do poorly compared to humans when interpreting and exploring a user's experience. To quote the lead author, Andrea Quadra, who's now a postdoctoral researcher at Stanford, "I think automated empathy could have tremendous impact and huge potential for positive things, for example, in education or the healthcare sector, but it's extremely unlikely that it won't happen. So it's important that as it's happening, we have critical perspectives so that we can be more intentional about mitigating the potential harms," right? We do have to take into account that not every person on this planet is good. And not every person on this planet is going to use these incredible technologies for good things.
Yep.
And one of the easiest ways to manipulate people is with empathy.
Yep.
Right. And so, you think about the Nigerian prince that, has, $20 billion and is trying to give it to the little old lady in Staten Island. And all he needs is, for her to give him her bank account, and he's going to, put a, large chunk of money. Right. How many times have we heard that scam happen? Right. So many times, so many times. Right. Or I found myself in a critical place, a dire situation. Can you help me out? Can you send me, a little bit of money through your bank account? Right. And then all of a sudden they've got all your information. We have to be careful about how people are going to use AI to manipulate others for nefarious means. So I think there's so many different nuances to what's happening with AI. It's beautiful when we talk about it in business analytics and what it can do to really further growth. But we also have to be concerned about what are the next steps. And I agree, Juan, I don't think that the Terminator is going to come, but I do think that there's a conscious need to be aware that it evolves faster than we ever imagined it would. And if it can overcome a few critical human barriers, it could become way more powerful than we ever imagined.
Yeah, that one thing is right. It is moving at a faster pace than anything ever has when it comes to technology. Yeah, and it's a challenge. Well, it was a challenge to keep up with it, and even a bigger challenge to police it, right? Because like
Yeah.
you said, there not everybody wants to do good. Yeah, and the amount of text that I get nowadays with all different kinds of scam has tremendously increased.
Yeah.
The moment that my rule is, if I don't know the number, I'm not going to answer it. I'm not going to reply to it, because all you got to do is reply, and they have all your information. So yeah, people need to be aware of this, right? AI is good for business, but it also there's another side to it. There's a dark side to it.
Yeah, imagine you teach AI to be a code breaker.
Yeah.
And backdoor into things. I mean, look, CrowdStrike. I mean, that shut down the world a couple last week, right? And they're saying that it was a missed key input by one of their team members in the coding that was supposed to, update all of the Microsoft. But whatever it was, I don't know. I'm not part of it. I don't know if it was somebody miskeyed something. I don't know if it was a data breach. I don't know if it was, a cyber attack. But whatever it was, it crippled key industries in the world. So imagine you train AI for nefarious means and what it could do. It's sorry, different rabbit hole, different conversation, different day.
That's going to be the second part to this, is going to be looking at the ethical considerations. So we'll have a lot more stuff to say on that when we get to that level. But to both of your points, when we look at that personal, the people side of it, there's different things that AI brings that does help. So, for example, if you look at when you see people in roles of administrative support, AI is incredible. I mean, you got all these virtual assistants and that can help them get through a lot of their work that would used to take them a long time. I mean, you can have automated systems to help them schedule meetings, book travel, do all kinds of stuff. All these tasks that would take them, countless numbers of hours, now can be done in minutes. Nowadays, you don't even need an assistant to sit in the meeting. You can just turn on any app. All the apps have all these assistants that will take notes. So that helps out. I mean, in our meeting, I turn it off every single time when we do our Zooms. Is I can just take the notes and then it'll automatically put it together, clean it up, and send it in as an agenda or in the meeting instruction, whatever structure I want. So that's pretty cool. That you can have that. So those are really good uses of it. And the other good uses of it is like your watches, your smart devices that can keep track some of your health data. Those are really cool functions, which nowadays some insurance companies are using it. They're requiring people that have that are high risk to use these devices so they can keep track to see if they're actually doing what they're supposed to in order to maintain a healthy lifestyle, so they don't end up going back to the hospital for many different reasons, or end up sick in a way where, because they're just not taking care of themselves, not eating properly, not exercising, or not taking their pills. So there's really good uses for AI in that personal level. If we look at some of the stuff from the HR side, nowadays it's again, just because my history, I usually go into an organization and I look at the systems. What systems do you have working? And if a lot of your systems are systems that don't talk to each other. They're not synchronized, and there's a lot of manipulation, and not manipulation in a bad way, but manipulation where it's a lot of data entry, manual data entry from a user side. That's a problem. I mean, the first thing I look at is, okay, let's get systems that are more automated, where you take away from that having to have so many extra hands on uh, putting in forms, completing forms. So, for example, I'll tell you the last couple of businesses that I've gone into to consult in, you'll have in the HR systems 8 to 10 different systems that don't talk to each other. They're all manual inputs. How do you keep track of the data, see if it's correct or not? You can't. So the life cycle of a employee should be just as smooth as anything else in the business. So it should start from like applicant, and it should be automated. Like, they have all these systems nowadays are all automated. So if you can apply for a position, they can send you a reply right in the system to, for a job interview. You come in for the interview. If you interview well, putting all the interview notes, and it should be in the same system, then you can send them an offer through the system. They get hired and they get moved from an applicant into an employee. Everything's already there. So you're not having to fill out multiple forms with the same data. And then some of the data gets lost because it's in one system and it doesn't, that system doesn't speak to the onboarding system. So that whole process, we have to have systems that are automated, and AI assist in being able to help put those processes together. And it's so important to be able to have these AI tools so that everything is at your fingertips. When you need any information, you can just go in as a leader of an organization. Hey, I need this data on this person. Did this person complete this training? Did this person did that? Versus, oh, I have to go check the manual record and see if they actually signed in. I mean, what are we doing? Those are things that 30 years ago were relevant. Nowadays, you should be able to tell in the system right away whether someone completed something that they were supposed to.
Yeah, bring the punch cards back.
Oh my God, remember that? Oh Lord.
Every time I think of those punch cards, I think of the movie Joe versus the Volcano with Tom Hanks,
Oh
where he's
my
like
Lord.
he's just in the fluorescent lights and he hadn't seen like natural daylight forever, and he's walking over to like punch his card, and it's just
Yes, yes, yes. I have a very vivid visual right now of that.
But one of the features that, because there are always still some good features that come out. And one of the things that I like right now, we use Microsoft Outlook in the office. And when I go into a meeting now, Outlook has the ability to search your email and summarize on the topic that you're going to go into a meeting for.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
you have all the notes there at your fingertip, right? Because we're multitasking, doing so many things that you easily can forget something. So I like that feature that okay, I'm going to go to this meeting about this topic. Let me go check, and boom, scans my inbox and tells me, okay, these are all the discussion that were about this, and it summarizes. So it's I find that feature very beneficial.
All right. So we are at 40 minutes. I don't want to get into the next topic because that's going to take probably an hour, and it's about ethical considerations. So we'll leave that for the second part, and then we'll
Okay.
do a 3-parter on this one because it's 3 questions, and I mean we just dive into all kinds of fun stuff. Any last parting words from both of you, and then I want to say a few things.
Yeah, I think we've touched on a lot of really great benefits of AI. I think we're going to get into some really great conversations in the ethical piece, and I've got a lot to bring on that. But when we're talking about AI and its benefits for leaders, really what we're talking about is how do we give leaders the best tools that can streamline their process and procedure and their systems so that they can truly do what they're hired to do, which is lead. I mean, you and I talk about it all the time. True leadership's about people.
Yeah, it's
right.
all
And if you're bogged down, with manual input or data entry or things that are taking you away from people, you're missing out as a leader.
Yeah. And to your point, well, I'm sorry, Juan, because Tanner just said something that is I can't let it go. To your point, I've worked in a couple of organizations where it's all been about the report and the data, and you better have that report ready. And what is funny about that is that if you're going to focus the main piece of your organization about reports and data and not about people, then help yourself. Make sure that you're not asking for people to complete reports on data that you already have, just because you just want them to go through the exercise for no reason, which happens every single day. Because if I have access to data, I will never ask my directors to provide me a report on something. I already have it. So why am I asking you to?
Yeah, why waste their time?
Yeah, so it's
because that's the process.
That's the problem. So go back to you, Juan.
That's the process. You got to follow the script. The process is you ask X, Y, and Z for the report, so they got to follow the script. I mean, this is an interesting subject. I'm really looking forward to the next episode. And by all means, to our audience, we're not expert in AI, but we are, embarking in this journey, and we're going to take this right together. I'm really looking forward to the next episodes. And when you send us the message that we're going to discuss this, like Turner also, I jumped to my computer, started researching, looking into this, and yeah, that there is a lot. I thought I had a good grip on AI, but I
So
don't.
did I. So, until I really started researching it. So did I. Oh my gosh, there's so much out there.
The amount of stuff that's out there is unbelievable. I mean, and to your point, I sleep with my watch on, right? I wake up in the morning, I see what kind of sleep I had, tells me my temperature at night. I can see that my temperature drops every night and it comes back up. AI is a very amazing tool, and if you use wisely, it could be very productive, especially for someone like me that English is not my first language. I will have to say that my writing skills have improved drastically.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you see, that's a perfect example of how to use AI in a positive way. And that you say that, I think that'll help us segue into our second episode, because I'm just going to tell this little story and then we'll leave it at that so we can discuss it in our second episode. I saw in a situation not too long ago where had a team member that was using the Chat GPT, one of these AI writing tools, to kind of write all kinds of stuff. And this person kept on using it, but when you use these tools, it says at the bottom, written by ChatGPT. Copy the whole thing, including that, and put it on the email. You're like, okay.
Thank you for taking the time to write a valid response in email.
Yeah, it's like you don't even take the time to even read what you're copying and pasting from a tool.
He was being honest. He didn't want to take full credit.
They didn't want to plagiarize.
Wow. So, I mean, it's to that point, and that's why we're going to segue into the ethical piece of it, and the good uses and the scary uses that can happen because of AI. I remember at the beginning of the year, this year, I went to the CES conference, incredible conference. I want to be able to go back at some point. but I mean, the information, I went into one of the discussions there, and speaking of the ethical considerations, it's freaking scary. And I'll leave it to the ethical when we get to the second part with the ethical stuff. It's freaking scary. The stuff that we're able to do with the AI that people haven't thought about, and there's going to have to be some kind of either rules or regulations that are going to come out on where's the boundaries, where do you stop, because of the ethical considerations with the AI and how things are shaping up to be, especially in healthcare, because it involves our lives.
Well, and as you know, as you started off with the evolution, right? What does the evolution of AI look like? And there's going to have to be some sort of evolution in AI security, where you're teaching AI to look for things that are nefarious.
Yes.
And we can talk about that in the next one.
Yep, absolutely.
I was just talking to a friend of mine last night, and basically what he does, he takes your security system and installs an AI interface into it. And instead of having a monitoring office where, you know, your alarm goes off and somebody calls, AI takes over. And if it sees somebody that it doesn't recognize, tells them to leave the premises, otherwise they'll call the police. So there's not a physical person on the other side anymore. It's an AI tool now looking at the cameras and the videos and monitoring.
That's pretty sophisticated right there.
Yeah.
That's pretty sophisticated. All right, everyone. So it was nice being able to speak a little bit about AI and some uses for leaders. Next time around, we're going to talk about the ethical considerations. Y'all have a lovely day.
Thanks, everyone.
Guys, have a blessed weekend.